Welcome to the first episode of the Wanderers of Weird podcast. I'm Brittany.
And I'm Chelsea. Welcome to the shit show.
Alright, today we're talking about the hauntings of the Ryman Auditorium. I wanted to start off strong with something that was very Tennessee based.
Since we are located in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned that. So my sources for this episode are ghostcitytours.com, nashvilleghosts.com, and the book Haunted Nashville by Frankie Harris and Kim Meredith Harris, which I'll link all of those in the episode notes.
I just wanted to add in there, if you guys hear any background noise, it's the indoor cats having a great time.
Yeah, there might be some scuffling. I've removed any collars with bells, so that's not an issue, but they're not getting along very well. Alright, I want to begin where it all began and tell you a small bit of the history of the Ryman Auditorium. Located at 116 Fifth Avenue North in Nashville, Tennessee, the Ryman has a lengthy and rich history. And it seats approximately 2,300 people and is still a favorite venue for artists around the world because the acoustics are amazing. The Ryman began its life in 1892 under the name of Union Gospel Tabernacle. I hope I'm saying that word right. And was the brainchild of Thomas Green Ryman. Initially, Thomas Ryman was a businessman who had a fleet of riverboats. There's a cat being distracting. He had a fleet of riverboats and owned several saloons. He made his fortune with illegal alcohol, gambling, and prostitution. This behavior caught the attention of Reverend Sam Jones, who was very opposed to this lifestyle. Ryman wanted to see for himself what the fuss was about, and one night when he was drunk with his friends, he went to a tent revival that the Reverend Sam Jones was holding. Oh no. After attending this revival, his life, he totally turned it around. And he vowed from that moment to dedicate himself to the Lord. Upon this enlightenment, Ryman wanted to build a place for the religious to gather in Nashville, and that became what was then known as the Union Gospel Tabernacle. And when Ryman passed in 1904, a vote was taken at his funeral to rename the tabernacle the Ryman Auditorium in his honor. Over time, however, the space ventured away from religious gatherings and began to host musical acts, plays, operas, and ballets. Acts such as Harry Houdini and Charlie Chaplin performed on the stage. And this is where our first ghost comes from. It is said that Thomas Ryman's spirit began making appearances of its own in the auditorium. His spirit is fine with most of the performances, but would make himself known if there were any performances that he would deem risque. For instance, there is a famous tale of him wreaking total havoc during the opera Carmen, which is apparently, I didn't really look into it very much, but apparently it's a bit of a naughty play. But he would disrupt shows by stomping around the venue so loudly that spectators were forced to leave. However, this was only the beginning of dark times for the Ryman Auditorium. In 1943, the Grand Ole Opry began hosting its radio show at the Ryman, and it also became known as the Grand Ole Opry House. The radio show featured up-and-coming country musicians and broadcasted their performances. And it was during this time that rumors began to surface that the venue was cursed, which I had never heard of the Opry curse before, but
I feel like I've heard whispers about it I feel like it's definitely something. Growing up in Nashville, you hear a lot of stories of places downtown that, people have witnessed apparitions and whatnot. But I do feel like the Ryman was one of those that I'd heard about.
Oh, yeah. Like, in just the book that I used for research for this episode, there were several, like, just downtown places that are reported to be haunted. So most of the singers that performed at the Ryman Auditorium for the Opry, they would wind up dead. From 1943 to 1974, a total of 37 people met their fate in some of the most gruesome ways, between dying of overdoses, in car accidents, in fires, and being murdered. According to Haunted Nashville, here is just a list of a few people who it is believed succumbed to the Opry curse. Jim Reeves, a popular performer who died in a plane crash in 1964. Ira Louvin, his wife, and another couple and the occupants of another vehicle all died in a head-on collision in 1965. Famously, Patsy Cline, Cowboy Copus, Randy Hayes, and Hawkshaw Hawkins all died in a famous plane crash in 1965. There is also the unconfirmed rumor that Cline had a premonition of her own death. Texas Ruby Fox died of smoke inhalation in a terrible fire that consumed her home. String Bean Aikman, the Hee Haw comedian, and his wife were murdered during a robbery at their home in 1963. And I'm pretty sure that one's still unsolved. I don't think that was ever solved. Jimmy Widener, who performed with Hank Snow and his girlfriend, were murdered in 1973. And Hank Williams Jr. fell from a mountain in Montana in 1975. While this didn't kill him, it did result in years of surgery and therapy and left him physically scarred for life.
Fun fact about Hank Williams Jr.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really about Hank Williams Jr. I saw Hank Williams Jr. in concert when I was 8 years old. My parents are awesome.
In 1974, the Grand Ole Opry relocated to Opryland, USA, where they had built a new Grand Ole Opry house. And I think I, as a kid, went there several times, like, with my granny.
I've been there once, and I will tell you, the little circle that they have in the middle of the stage where I got to stand there, because we have a friend that played steel guitar. Shout out to Mr. Tommy. Mr. Tommy White played steel guitar for the Opry band, and he had us come in and watch a show one night, and standing just in that circle, it was almost, for somebody that's not a super religious person, it was a religious experience. It was just thinking about, because it's part of the original. It was the original flooring.
Yeah.
So just thinking about all the people who have stood there, all these names that you've named off. People like Patsy Cline, George Jones, Hank Jr. That night it was Montgomery Gentry. It was amazing just to be able to feel that my feet are standing in the same spot these people stood.
But when the Opry moved to the new venue at Opryland, USA, it's believed that the curse followed. People thought it would end, but because they cut that section out of the floor, they believe the curse was brought over to the new venue. Because since the move, 14 additional acts died. It is, it's believed that happened because the floor was brought over.
I just mentioned Montgomery Gentry, and I had no idea that you were adding that part into that, and one of the members of that group passed away shortly after we saw them in concert, shortly after we saw them at the Opry.
Yeah. There are at least 3 other known ghosts that have claimed the Ryman Auditorium as their eternal residence. The Gray Man is the name that was given to a ghost who is believed to be one of the Confederate soldiers who frequented the auditorium after the war. Some folks have said that they have witnessed him sitting in the balcony while artists rehearse, and that he watches the stage steadily, but he disappears as soon as anyone, approaches him. And then the next one is the lady. But she's not a spectator. It's believed that she is a performer. It is speculated that she is the ghost of Patsy Cline, who tragically died in a plane crash. And, as I mentioned, she was linked to the Opry curse. And it is said by staff that she can be heard singing late at night as they prepare to close the building.
That would be bomb.
I know. I would die. I would just live at the Ryman.
Right.
For the rest of
I would be the next haunting.
Right. I would just be the next resident. Lastly, I want to talk about the ghost of Hank Williams Sr. He is the only performer still to this day in the history of the Ryman to have had 6 encore performances in the same night. And he is said to have been another casualty of the Opry curse when he died in 1953 at the age of 29 years old. I didn't realize he was that young.
I didn't either.
After mixing prescription drugs with alcohol. Williams, right. Williams was a well-known alcoholic, and he was given several warnings by the Grand Ole Opry until they banned him from performing at the Ryman altogether, which absolutely devastated him, as you can imagine. It is said that he attached himself to the Ryman because he longs to return to the stage that was just so important to him. Like Patsy Cline and other artists, employees have heard the voice of Hank clear as day. They have also heard his songs being played on stage with no explanation behind it. And there have also been sightings of Hank Williams exiting the entertainer's entrance to the Ryman in the alley. And his spirit has also been seen crossing the alley to the back entrance of Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. The Ryman Auditorium sat vacant from 1974 to 1994. And this is when renewed interest was sparked for the vacant building, and it was restored and reopened to the public. And it remains open for public tours of the museum, and that includes guided backstage tours and self-guided tours of this historic venue. In years past, which I would love to do this, even up to last year, they didn't do it this year, but the Ryman hosts haunted tours, and their website says, "Come along with us as we explore the untold history behind unexplained sightings and occurrences reported at the Ryman throughout her almost 130-year history. Go where no guest has ever gone before, under one of Nashville's favorite stages. Hear the truth behind the Ryman's most infamous stories straight from our expert historians." And if they ever decide to do that again,
I'm in.
I'm in.
I am so in.
Right, and that's what I've got for ghost stories of the Ryman.
That's pretty. That's a lot of information I did not know.
Yeah, I didn't know it before either, and that's one of the reasons I'm so excited to do this podcast, is just so I can learn more about the city that I live near and the state that I live in.
Yeah, because even though we live so close to Nashville, I don't personally do a whole lot of the things that tourists come and do.
Exactly.
To be perfectly honest with you, I would be fine if I never stepped foot back on Broadway. I don't do the downtown scene. The Woo Girls.
The Woo Girls have kind of ruined it for everybody.
Girls.
We were talking about that at work the other day. We were talking about the Woo Girls and just how miserable downtown Nashville is.
But you know what? the Woo Girls have brought on, though. All the party buses.
That's true.
Also,
all the pedal cars.
Also, though, they have these new ones that are like drag queen buses.
Oh, I'm in.
My husband and I have been talking about wanting to do one of those for our birthdays. Fun fact, my husband's birthday is the day before mine, December 30th and 31st.
Just two Capricorns.
Two Capricorns living together. It's risky, but we make it work. But yeah, that's cool. Also, wanted to add, she mentioned Tootsie's Orchid Lounge. There are many of them out there. There are some in other cities. I know for sure that there is one in Panama City Beach over at Pier Park. But the original here in Nashville, if you want to get the original experience, get the all-encompassed experience here, you got to go to the one in Nashville.
I've never been.
I've been one time.
I've never been. I want to go too, because that was like in the book that I used as a source for this week. That was the next haunted location, and that was listed after the Ryman, and I was like,
I feel like Michael Mason that we're friends with, he's a musician here, local, pretty good. Look him up. He, if I'm not mistaken, he performs at Tootsie's every once in a while. I would love to go. But, alright, so on to what I have for you guys today, and to take you a little bit away from hauntings and whatnot, a little bit more of a lighthearted situation here. I found a list of weirdest things that have ever happened in Nashville on a website called Thrillist, THRILLIST.com. And when I saw this list, I knew that this was the one, because it's amazing. A lot of it's scandalous situations, and we like a good scandal.
Oh yeah. I'm so nosy. I don't want to be in the drama, but I want to be near the drama.
We're thirsty. We like the tea. In case you guys didn't know, Tennessee is part of the Bible Belt, so any kind of scandalous situation
is really a scandal.
It's a scandal. You get the old biddies gasping for air about the situation. But anyway, my first one here. A former U.S. senator died in a downtown duel. Duel with guns, the whole nines.
The stepping, what is it, 10?
Edward Ward Carmack was a Nashville newspaperman, prohibitionist leader, and politician in the earliest 20th century. He lost his re-election to the Senate to Malcolm Patterson. And that's when he became the editor of the Nashville Tennessean, which was a prohibitionist paper at the time. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. He was known for attacking his political rivals.
Oh no!
In print.
Oh, okay.
Including Patterson and Patterson's closest advisor, Colonel Duncan Cooper. The feud had gotten to a really high-strung situation point. And when Cooper and his son ran into Carmack on the street, and then a shootout took place.
Oh no, like the Wild West.
Yes. And then Carmack got dead.
Oh no, he died.
He was unalived on the scene.
Oh no.
Now you can see a statue of Carmack on the grounds of the state capitol, and it overlooks the now famous site, or infamous site.
I've never heard that story.
Well, here's this memorial to this well-known prohibitionist. Sits above a tunnel named for Lynn Motlow of Jack Daniels. So there's that.
Just seems like
middle finger.
Right.
Alright, so the next one. A Nashville native built a full-size Millennium Falcon for all you Star Wars nerds. My husband, I didn't know this. This is not something that we knew about, but I feel like I would love to see it.
Right.
So basically, it's a full-scale replica. It looks like 114 foot long, 81.5 feet wide, and 30.9 feet tall.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That is just...
Man named Chris Lee.
I'm gonna need... That man got extra money just laying around?
Right?
Because I'll take some.
Yeah. But yeah, it apparently looks just like the real thing. Apparently it's still a work in progress. But apparently you can follow the progress online somewhere.
I'm sure. It's probably on YouTube.
And according to this website that I got all this information from, it's Lucasfilm approved.
Oh! My gosh.
There was a band that cursed the city and it worked.
Oh?
The Nashville curse refers to a 2-decade stint where not a single rock band from Nashville broke 1 million records.
Oh.
In the early 80s, Jason and the Nashville Scorchers was a promising rock act bound for glory. Their label pressured them to drop the Nashville as a way to distance them from the country dominant,
Yeah.
you know.
I get it,
thing.
but I like that name.
Right. The curse is believed to have started with them and lasted until Paramore's Riot went platinum.
I always forget that they're from Nashville.
I do too.
But I get it.
Unpopular opinion, I'm not a huge fan.
Me either. As like a
They're great. They're great.
Well, as an elder emo, I feel a little bit of guilt for not liking them. But like, Hayley Williams, she's just so cute, and she just seems like one of the nicest human beings. But I'm not a Paramore fan.
Nashville mayor was engaged and married at the same time. Scandal.
With
Scandal. Bill Boner, who was married.
What a name.
I knew you'd like that. He was mayor from 87 to 91. So, you know, we were just babies.
Yeah, we were just little bitty, just toddlering around.
He appeared on the television show, the Phil Donahue Show, with his new fiance, nightclub singer Tracy Peel.
Oh.
He was still married to his, not first, not second, but third wife at the time. And the pair had been given off-the-wall interviews in Nashville. But the lapse in judgment culminated in a full-on craziness when, after discussing the mayor's stamina, the two broke into duet of the god-awful song Rocky Top with Boner on her harmonica. I'm an Alabama fan, Roll Tide, so we don't do Rocky Top in my house at all. I remember this happening. This one, a Nashville citizen, the very first Nashville citizen that lived in a cave.
We've been to that cave. We went and found it.
Is it not right up here by the river?
It's not. I don't think so. It's like, and he's got, so you know that cemetery not far from here that you don't like? I don't want to say the name of it in case anybody finds it. The one where you go up and around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got a headstone there.
Ah.
Yeah.
Timothy de Mumrium.
Yep.
He was a French-Canadian fur trader. Considered to be the first citizen of Nashville. He began visiting and hunting the area I don't remember when this actually happened, obviously.
She was there.
No, I am not an immortal. But I remember hearing stories of it as a child. He was in the area as early as 1769. He lived in the cave along the Cumberland River, which is a huge river that crosses through much of Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
And this is where he kind of established his trading business. The cave is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is privately owned, but can be viewed from the overlook at Shelby Bottoms. All right, so then the random arrest that possibly prevented a presidential assassination.
Holy shit.
6 months before John Hinckley Jr. made the infamous assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan in an effort to impress Jodie Foster.
Of all people.
Right. He was arrested at Nashville International Airport. They didn't realize it at the time, but he was actually in town to stalk Jimmy Carter. who was president at the time. Carter was at the Opryland Hotel for a speaking engagement and flying to New York afterward. Hinckley was also headed to New York when he was stopped by security with several weapons in his luggage. After posting a small bond, he was released from Metro Nashville jail and made national headlines shortly after.
Wow. You couldn't get away with having that many, like, you couldn't be able to just post bond if you went through an airport with that many weapons.
Not.
Especially, like, since, like, we live in a post 9/11 era.
Yeah.
And there's no way. You couldn't get anywhere near an airport with a gun and not serve some time.
There was a saber-toothed tiger in Nashville in 1971 while excavating the foundation for the downtown center of the First American National Bank, which is now the UBS Tower.
Oh.
They found a Smilodon, the remains of a species of Smilodon, which is better known as saber-toothed tiger. They found those. They found a foreleg and a 9-inch fang that carbon dated back 9,500 years.
Oh my
gosh. Before they discovered this, the Smilodons were thought to have been extinct 11,000 years ago, but making this Nashville cat the last known Smilodon on record. And I was literally about to ask this question and it just answered it because I didn't read this beforehand. It's the inspiration behind the Nashville Predators.
Oh. Well, that's kind of cool.
That is really cool. At one point, our record low temperature beat Iceland's. Our lowest temperature on record is still negative 17 degrees that we hit in 1985.
Oh my gosh. That's...
The capital of Iceland's record, which is Reykjavik, right?
Yeah.
Is 12 degrees. Negative 12 degrees Fahrenheit.
Whoa.
Can you imagine?
No. All I remember is, because everybody always talks about it, especially if you're like our age or older, like our parents' age.
96?
It's 94.
Was it 94?
Yeah. I remember.
Was that when we got stuck on school? No, it wasn't.
No, that was after.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. Because there's been several where there's just
I do remember that because we were stuck at my grandparents' house for a long time and I was a little bitty.
Yeah. I was like, we were just stuck in my parents' house. No electricity. Thank goodness they used kerosene heaters.
Right.
Because we didn't have central heat and air.
Yeah.
So we were using those anyway. We cooked on that thing. To this day, the smell of a kerosene heater just brings back good memories.
Yeah, but those are probably some of the best meals you've ever in your life had.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like camping. Camping meals are always so good.
Yeah, see, the only thing that's, like, wasn't so good about it is, like, my sister was a baby. Yeah, so she was, like, not even a year old.
Oh, so yeah. Well, the next one I got, Babe Ruth refused to play right field. Sulphurdale Park was a historic park in baseball, serving several teams for more than 100 years until it was demolished in 1969. Its grandstand was at the corner of 4th Avenue North and Jackson Street near the Bicentennial Mall. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know that was a thing. It's low-lying field and odd dimensions made for less than ideal playing conditions, and the terrain was so uneven, right fielders were nicknamed mountain goats. Supposedly, when the Yankees played the Vols in an exhibition game, I didn't know that Tennessee had a professional baseball team. I know that we have the Sounds now.
Yeah. But, like, I didn't know that there was, like, a long history
right.
of Tennessee. I'm not a sports fan anyway.
Go sports.
But, yeah. Go teams.
But anyway, Babe Ruth refused to play right field and switched to left field. And with the addition of First Tennessee Park that we have now, an 8,500 seat grandstand, Nashville now has a state-of-the-art facility for its AAA baseball team, the Nashville Sounds.
It's nice, too.
It is
it's
nice.
Super nice.
It is real nice.
That's something I haven't done in a while, is gone to a Sounds game.
Did you know that a Nashville native became the president of Nicaragua?
I absolutely did not.
It didn't technically occur in Nashville, obviously.
Right.
But it is weird history. In 1856, William Walker became the president of the Republic of Nicaragua. Walker was an American filibuster who led a notorious expedition into Latin America with a mission to establish pro-slavery English-speaking colonies. His regime took control of Nicaragua in 1985, and he appointed himself as president.
I mean, he seems like not so great of a dude, though.
I mean, what year back in the 1800s? I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying that was the norm.
It was the norm.
But here is the one that I thought that you would love the most, and you probably already know. You ready?
Uh-huh.
Playboy Centerfold led the local debate team. Who is it?
Betty Page.
Yep. I remember you loved Betty Page back in the day.
Oh, I still love Betty Page.
She was born and raised in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
She became the queen of pinups.
Yeah.
She was voted most likely to succeed.
Which I think she did.
Oh.
In her own way. Yeah.
That was not a questioning. That was a yeah.
Some people might not view. If you don't know who Betty Page is, look her up, and she is just absolutely a stunning 50s pinup model.
Right. She was a model student, and she led the debate team and graduated second in her class at Hume Fogg, which, if I'm not mistaken, is that downtown?
It's on Broadway.
That's that gorgeous school.
That, old school looking school.
Also graduated from Vanderbilt's Peabody College, and had a brief career in teaching before she pursued acting and modeling.
Yep. She eventually went on to be a total recluse and ashamed of the lifestyle she led for a long time.
That would come with coming from the Bible Belt.
Yeah. Well, I think she ended up just living in L.A.
Well, yes, but once you get that Bible Belt instilled in you, it's kind of hard to break free from.
That's very true.
That's all I got.
Well, I guess we will wrap up this first episode, and we will...
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah. And like I said, in our introduction, if anybody has any suggestions on topics they'd like to hear that are just... you think it's weird and you want other people to hear about it, just shoot us an email at wanderersofweird@gmail.com.
You can find us on Facebook.
On the Twitter.
Wanderers of Weird.
It's at Wanderers Pod on TikTok, not on TikTok, on Twitter.
We're not
ready.
On
TikTok yet.
We're not ready for the TikTok.
But yeah, and then we will be distributing on any platform that you can get your podcasts on, I think. So,
well, we hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.